Chapter 9. "You're sure this isn't illegal?" Celia asked. Grabbing a specific rock from the porch, Annika wedged out the key and inserted it into the lock. "I promise. Detective Harrison and I go way back." He gave me his blessing. Now inside Patrick's home, Annika put her hands on her hips, taking in the scene. The kitchen was directly in front of her. To the left, a nicely decorated hallway beckoned. Turning to the right, she stepped down into the living room. A fireplace, a coffee table, a large flat-screen TV, and 2 leather couches took up the space. "Where's the game room?" Celia pointed. "Down the hall. It's the first door on your right." Annika walked down the hallway and turned, seeing a pool table and a foosball table. In the middle of the carpeted room was the white outline of how the body was found. Blood stained the chest area. Pulling out her phone, Annika took a few pictures, then jumped when she heard a gasp. Celia turned away, leaning against the wall, hand to her stomach. Annika gripped her arm. "Oh, Celia, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have brought you." "No, I'm okay." Celia stood up straighter and blew out a slow breath. "I'm all right." Annika guided her to the living room and made her sit down. Even though Celia insisted she was fine, Annika gave her some water. "Thank you." Celia took the glass with trembling fingers. Annika kept an eye on her, making sure she wasn't going to pass out. How many emotions could be coursing through her right now? How many memories lived within these cream walls? Once the color returned to her face, Celia gripped her knees. "So, you said you want to know more about Patrick?" "Yes. I assume you were closest to him. You would know the most." "What do you want to know exactly?" "His routine, his habits, everything." Annika clicked her pen and flipped open her notepad. "Just talk." Celia blinked. "Okay." Rising, she began to walk about the room. "Well, he worked at Fuller Advertising in the Woodlands. He's been working there for the past few years." Annika shook her pen. Hold on. Sorry, my pen ran out." "Here." Celia grabbed a gold pen off the counter and handed it to her. "Thanks." She twisted it open. "Was this Patrick's?" She nodded. "Mm-hmm. He got that pen from one of their biggest clients. All the men on the Jones account got one." "How did he like the work there at Fuller Advertising?" He liked the work, but he really didn't get along with his boss or some of his coworkers. Once he saved up enough money, he planned to advertise on his own." "Why didn't he get along with them?" Annika asked. "Patrick said his boss was a hothead, that he was always in a bad mood and took out his anger on everybody. And this one guy, Brian, really got on his nerves, always talking Patrick's ear off." Annika scribbled away. "Do you know how they felt about Patrick?" Celia shrugged. "Not really. I don't think they're the killer type, if that's what you're thinking." "You'd be surprised." "What did he do for fun? Hobbies, sports, that sort of thing?" "He played a couple sports, usually with guy friends. I've never been super coordinated, so if I went, I just cheered him on. We would go on dates. He'd take me to concerts and dinner, plays, parties. He really enjoyed having parties here at the house. We'd listen to music and hang out." "Do you have the names of those friends and guests?" "Yes, they should be on his phone, too." "Okay, good. Keep going." What else?" "Oh, he loved playing pool. He played with Mark all the time. Mark would get so annoyed when he would lose over and over again." She laughed faintly, realizing they were only moments in time, moments that would never be recreated. "Mark's his friend, right?" Annika asked. "The one who found the body?" "Yes, his best friend." I felt horrible that he was the one who found Patrick. He tried calling me to tell me the news, but I was asleep. I didn't wake up until the police pounded on my door the next morning. Celia sank into an overstuffed chair. "Anyway, yes, Patrick and Mark were best friends. He's over here all the time. We all hung out together. They met at the gym, which is something else Patrick did often, worked out." "So he and Mark were close?" "Sometimes behind all the applause and handshakes, there's jealousy brewing." "You don't have any doubts about Mark?" "Oh, no, of course not. They were like brothers." "Could you ever see Patrick instigating a fight with him? Or with anyone, for that matter?" Celia shook her head and then stopped. now that you mention it, Patrick did get upset with Mark about a week ago. He thought he may have stolen that money. I confessed because he looked like... Annika leaned forward in her seat. Like what? She hugged herself. Like he was about to punch Mark. Pretty aggressive all the way around, huh? Celia rubbed her arms. Yeah. What about his family? Did he have any kind of relationship or contact with them? He got along with them. He didn't see them much, though. They live in Minnesota or Michigan, somewhere up there. All right. Annika looked up. Celia, this next question is never fun, but I have to ask it. Celia swallowed. Were you ever suspicious of Patrick cheating on you? She sighed, breaking eye contact. If you had asked me that a month ago, I would have said no. But recently I started having suspicions. He used to date one of the girls he works with. I thought maybe he was starting to like her again, or maybe he had never stopped. Annika's eyebrows went up in compassion. He didn't deserve you, girl. She smiled weakly. Her name is Laura. She's in the accounting department. Celia paused. You don't think she did it, do you? The way she glared at me when I would stop by the office, you think she would have killed me, not him. You never know. Annika jotted down the information, ignoring the cramp in her palm. The more info, the more background to the suspects and Patrick, the better. Celia played with the arrow ring on her pinky. Annika, do the police still suspect me? She hesitated. Do you suspect me? I don't, Celia, but I can't speak for the police or Detective Harrison. They don't know you like I do. And of course, he keeps reminding me to not let my emotions control me, she thought. It would help if you had a better alibi, though. You're sure no one saw you go to the hotel that night? You spoke to no one. Celia's eyes darted to the floor, the couch, the chandelier, anywhere but Annika. No, no one. Annika watched her tug at her necklace now. Nervous habit? Adding that thought to her notebook, Annika rose. Well, I guess that does it for now. If I think of anything else, I'll let you know. Oh, good. I'm ready to go. Annika grabbed her purse and stuck her notes inside. Thanks, girl. This was really helpful. I'm glad I could help. Annika opened the door and let Celia leave first. Then she stopped, spun around, and stuck the pen into a drawer. She couldn't be caught stealing from a crime scene. The next morning, Annika followed Detective Harrison as he marched through Fuller Advertising. Excuse me, John Fuller? He inquired. What? The guy chewing his glasses in frustration froze, noticing the shining badge and stern expression. I'm Detective Harrison, Homicide. We'd like to ask you and your employees a few questions. Certainly. About what? Patrick Gould's murder. Before long, everyone important was rounded up in a conference room. Fuller adjusted the cuffs on his sleeves. Everyone, I'd like you to give Detective Harrison and P.I. Annika your full cooperation. One by one, employees came into a vacant office to be interviewed. Annika wrote and scribbled, scribbled and wrote, listened and watched, watched and listened. Detective Harrison cleared his throat. So, Mr. Fuller, how's business? Is that relevant to the case? You tell me. Fuller pinched the bridge of his nose. Well, to be honest, business hasn't been good. For a while now, I've known someone's been dipping into our funds, embezzling. I've suspected it was Patrick for some time now, but to be sure, I hired an outside auditor. He's supposed to be here tomorrow. What reasons do you have for thinking Patrick was embezzling? Last year, I gave another coworker, Brian Blake, a promotion. Patrick made it clear he was not happy about my decision. Stealing from the company was probably his way of settling the score. Also, when I asked our accounting department about it, they told me Patrick was over there the most, out of all the employees. He was a charmer. He had the girls completely bamboozled. I'm sure he found ways to steal small amounts at a time without much trouble. Where were you from 6 to 9 p.m. on Thursday? Thursday? Fuller checked the calendar on his phone. Oh yes, Thursday. I was here, working late. Was anyone else here? The janitor. He was cleaning the offices. I left right before he did. Which was? Just after 11. Fuller shifted, leaning against his desk. Detective, killing Gould wouldn't have gotten my money back. Annika shared a glance with the detective. If you two don't want to waste your time, if you want a real suspect, I'll give you one. Harrison looked at him, skepticism rising. Brian Blake. He and Patrick have been going at it since the day I hired him. Talk about getting thrown under the bus, Annika thought. Eyebrows raised, Annika went back to her notes. Fuller keeps cleaning and chewing his glasses. Nervous habit? Mr. Blake, the detective began, where were you from 6 to 9 on Thursday night? Brian racked his brain. At 6, I was having dinner at Mason's Diner with a few of my coworkers. Then a couple of us caught a movie afterward. I got home around 10. Who went to the movies with you? Laura. She's in accounting. Did the decedent seem different that day? Anxious, preoccupied? Patrick? He shrugged. Not that I noticed. We weren't the best of friends, though. You didn't get along with each other? We were acquaintances, I'll say that. Not what your coworkers say. Seems you and Patrick tended to argue and disagree several times a week. Look, just because I didn't get along with Patrick doesn't mean I killed him. He was jealous of me. I mean, I can't blame him. All my life, people have been jealous of me. Annika spoke up. What was Patrick jealous about? What would you two disagree on? Brian scoffed. Everything. He was always trying to one-up me, make me look bad in front of boss man. I'd say blue, he'd say red. I'd say yes, he'd say no. He was jealous because he wasn't the favorite with the boss. I got a promotion. He didn't. Brian Blake seems a little delusional. No, just like arrogant, annoying. I feel Patrick's pain. I can't believe someone would murder him, Laura murmured. Wouldn't surprise me if she did it. Detective Harrison put up a hand. Whoa, who's she? That anorexic Patrick called a girlfriend. Annika's chest burned. She has a name. I'm sure she was jealous, Laura continued. Jealous of who? The detective asked. Of me, Laura answered, her expression saying, duh, who else? Patrick and I were a thing once. The new girl he was dating seemed very insecure. She was always coming around here, like she was checking up on him. Who broke things off between you and Patrick? He asked. I did. He looked up, pen in midair. Why? There's a no dating policy here at work. Laura clicked her nails on the glossy countertop. Is that a new policy? Annika asked. Seems pretty standard for a big company. It's not new. It was restated and reinforced. So I did the logical, rational thing. How do you take it? The detective asked. Laura shrugged. Okay. I could tell he still had feelings for me, though. I'm sure she could tell, too. Detective Harrison proceeded to ask her about her alibi, and Laura confirmed what Brian had said. She was at the dinner and then the movies. Annika went back to her notes. No one seems all that broken up about Patrick's death, and Laura seems like she's the jealous one. A lot of jealousy going on around here.